Good morning, everybody. Orange here with another War of the Visions video, and we've got a special video coming your way today because we're going to do a little pre-2.5 year anniversary elemental tier list. Now, in my opinion, I think PvP in War of the Visions is in a really good spot right now. I think there's a lot of elements that are super playable in the game. I don't think any one element is completely unplayable. However, there is definitely some overbalanced, maybe overtuned elements compared to your fires of the world. But we're going to go element by element. I'm going to talk to you about what I think the strengths of that element are, what the weaknesses are, kind of keep it brief, but gonna give my opinion on where I think this game stands elementally in terms of PvP. Now, with the anniversary hitting, I do think Lightning and Ice will both get a big boost. Agrius getting that 120 for Ice is going to bring the status effect Queen of Tanks back into this game. I think that's really cool. And Lightning is going to get Lightning the unit and an EX Orlando, which I will think be a nice boost to that element. So keep that in mind. Those two elements I think do stand to move up the list a little bit as we go. Now, okay, that's too much talking. Let's get to the list. Here's the tier maker, and I'm just going to go down the line in order. Let's start with Fire, and I'm going to start by just dropping Fire straight into C. Like I said, I don't think any element in this game is unplayable right now, but I do think Fire probably suffers the most. As you can see on the screen right here, I'm showing off kind of the units that Fire has. You have some good tanks with like Mont and Rain. You have some solid damage dealers, Setia and Terra, if you're wanting to fight anti-evade. I think Terra is really good for that. So you kind of have those things, but you do hurt for a on-element support, in my opinion. Yes, I see Minwu, but come on, she's no Velis, let's be real about that. And Espers and Vision cards for Fire, I don't think are on the level of some of the other elements. So as far as an element goes, I think Fire is kind of towards the bottom. However, I will not drop it into D because D, in my opinion, means it needs a lot of love. I'll throw it into C and let it live there. Okay, next up on the list is going to be Ice. I'm going to take Ice and drop it into the B tier. Now, Ice is clearly stronger than Fire. In my opinion, like, I don't think there's much of a comparison between Ice and Fire. I think Ice is clearly stronger. You have a lot of insanely good damage dealers in Ice. You have piercing damage, missile damage, magic missile damage. You have, like, shields with, like, Mirage from Laswell. Victoria has that just by default. Fryevi is a really interesting tank unit who brings some support. You have the best support in the game in Velis. And like I said, you're about to catch Agrius EX. So Ice can do a really good job of mixing damage types already. It already has a top tier support. And I think it's an element that I won't have a problem shooting up into the A tier once Agrius gets that EX upgrade. So I would look to move it to there for then. But before that, it's still super playable. It's especially playable right now as maybe like a rainbow team or like a couple Ice damage dealers with a splashed in super tank like a Celis or something like that. I think that makes Ice really playable. That's the state of it right now. I would look to move Ice up the tier list once the Tactics EX jobs hit. For now, I'm going to land it in B, and I look for it to be about in A tier after Tactics gets its EX. Okay, next on the list is Wind. Now, Wind, we're just going to keep going up the list here. Wind gets to go straight into A, and Wind is really an interesting element. You guys probably know that I'm somebody who likes to play Wind. I consider myself kind of a Wind main, and let's talk about this element. All right, Sottily. Sottily is a 100 cost unit who benefits, especially on the global side, from being able to be paired with Summer, Jaden, and Marymore. Like, that three-man team does a lot of damage from really far away and is actually kind of hard to kill. Like, Marymore's a pretty tanky girl, Summer Jaden can shoot from range, Sottily's a fairly tanky mage. It's a lot of damage, a lot of AoE potential there. I think it's really good. You also have what I think is one of the best tanks in the game in Joom. You have good physical damage options with like Winter Luartha, Tifa, 2B, even good options right here. You do have on-element supports. Let's not forget about Halloween Little Leela, who, especially if you're talking about cost-limited teams, that is a monster of a 70 cost unit. Wind can do everything. And as far as an actual element goes, like not light or dark, I don't think you can go too much better than Wind. Like, it's super good. It's super versatile. PvE, PvP. I love being a Wind player in this game right now. Wind wind is great. It's a great place to live. If you are building an account around an element and you have Joom, I do think Joom really helps tie it all together. Or you have that like conglomeration of super mages I was just talking about. I think wind's really good. So A tier for wind. Let's move on to our next one. Our next one is earth. Now, I think earth suffers a little bit right now. I know we just got Queen Macherie. I'm still building her up, building up her new vision card. Earth is better than fire in my opinion, but I do still think it is a tier below like your ices of the world. If we bring the game back on the screen right here and we give Earth a little bit of a look, what does Earth do? Like, what has been Earth's MO since Earth, basically, right? It's high damage bruisers that are pretty hard to kill but do a lot of damage, and so they just try to like run at you and overwhelm you, and that kind of works. You also have evade you can mix in with Earth with like Ketone, UR Zazon, and that's pretty good, but it's not as good as light evade. So Earth just kind of, I don't love Earth's identity in the current state of the game, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Now, where does Earth land after people start getting Queen Macherie built up, after they start building up her new vision card, which looks really good for her? Can the Earth mages help elevate this element that I felt like has been stuck as a physical bruiser team for so long? Maybe they can, but Earth definitely does not have like, I'm going to call it a true UR tank. Yes, you can give King Moraga like his selection quest helmet and he can sort of fill that role for you, but there's no Joom for Earth. There's no Celis for Earth. If they had that, I think Earth would be really, really good. They don't right now. I think, in my opinion, the combination of a Queen Macherie, Luelle, and something else might be super good. Maybe that, if somebody's trying to get me to move Earth up, that might be where you look. Until then, I don't know. And you guys know, I mean, Eileen's in Earth, and I can't put them above C right now. It does hurt my heart a little bit, but that's kind of my breakdown of Earth. I think they have decent enough Espers and Vision cards. I think the Oberon Noctis combo is still really strong, but that's it. Like the Oberon Noctis Velis, so you have to even to do the Oberon Noctis like OP combo, I still think you need to dip into like Velis, so it's not even mono Earth at that point. I don't know, just my opinion. I do think Earth is not in its best place. I might be able to be talked into moving it up into B, but when I was taking notes on this video, I put it down for C, so I'm going to stick with it there. Okay, next up, Lightning. I'm going to take Lightning and put it right here in B, just above Earth. Not as good as Ice, in my opinion. Let's talk about why. Let's bring the game back up and go into Lightning. Now, Charlotte. Let's look at a tank. Charlotte's a really good tank. And she just got her Master Ability 2. She's even better than she was before. She's really solid. I like that a lot. You have good mages in Lightning with Renan, with Abara, with Skahal even. With Resnick, great support. Like, I don't have my Resnick built yet. This is one of my longest build units in the game right now. Resnick is really solid. So I like the tanking and supporting in mages that Lightning has. And then let's talk about physical damage dealers. Cloud, Esther, yeah, they're real good. Like, the damage dealers for Lightning are top tier. You have one of the better tanks in the game. You have Resnick for great support. You're about to get Lightning the unit. You're about to get Orlando's EX job. I think Lightning is in a great spot. I think it's super playable, and I think it is comfortably into that B tier right now. I might even think it's on par or better than Ice. Like, if we go back to the tier list, I'm looking at like my notes that I wrote down. I could be talked into this. I think these are probably a toss-up right here. I think both of these elements are both better than Earth and Fire, and they're probably about neck and neck with each other. So for fun, I'll switch them around like that right now. And I think Ice does probably get the edge once Agrius gets that EX, if you have her. Now, I say if you have her, because our next element that I want to talk about is water. And water, if you want to talk about the high end of water, it's a big, do you have the power combo element? If you do, my God, water's really good. I'm going to drop it into A tier, right up there with wind. Now, what is this power combo I'm talking about? Well, if you know, you know. It's our boy right here. It's our boy right here, Astrius, who is just one of the better damage dealers in the game. He's hard to kill, he does a ton of damage, he has an after hit effect like Noctis does once he's dropped his limit break. He is really tough to kill, he's just super hard to deal with, especially when paired with Celis. That combo plus literally anything else is insane. It's just so hard to deal with. That's a great Guild Wars wall. It's a great offensive PvP team, especially if you build it to go like fight mages with your Celis. You can go out of element for a support to bring in there to just back those two up and let them do their thing. Or you can pair it with like another good water unit. Maybe a Laura Croft for some missiles. Maybe like a piercing unit here like Glassy or Ildira for a mage slash support. You've got Aerith in there who can support you. You can sprinkle in any one of these other water units and you're going to be in a good place. If you have Celis Asterius, I just think it's so good. I think that combo by itself, just propels water into the A tier. Now, Light is next. There was a day in this game when Light lived in S by itself. You just put Light up here and you're like, look, you either have Starlight Elena and the Light Evaders or you don't. And if you can't deal with Light Evade, it's really hard to do PvP. Luckily enough, those days have kind of faded. I think Trust Stones have made evasion hunting more doable. There's a lot more 100% guaranteed hit moves in the game. Light Evade's day is not done, but its day is the undisputed #1 element in the game is done. I'm going to take Light down to the A tier. I'm only putting one element in S, and so you might not have a terribly hard time guessing what element that is. But if we look at Light, I think the story hasn't changed that much for them. You're playing a couple of different things. You can run a Starlight Elena plus Locke evasion team, and with that team you can mix in a support with like Yuna holding Bahamut or something like that. You can mix in a third evasion unit like Violet. You can mix in a tank. You can do a lot with Light Evade, and it's still a super effective team. You also have the best free unit in this game in Lucio, who fits into like, the dude's a super high damage bruiser that can also kind of tank for you. He's insanely good. You have good tank options with Warrior of Light and Engelbert. You have Yuna for support, which is really good. Sakura EX, who I have not started using yet, is a phenomenal dark hunting unit. Her 120, her power up has been a big deal. You have good cost limited units down here with like Fina, not Dark Fina, regular Fina, MR Fina. She's super good. Look, Light can do just about everything, and it does it all pretty good. If you're a Light player, the game is still very good for you right now. You have a great selection of vision cards and espers to use. I think Light's in a great spot. Like, Light's great. It's just not the undisputed #1 of the game, like when Starlight Elena literally just 1v3'd all the time. Now, last up for elements, we've got Dark. And if you didn't see this coming, Dark, in my opinion, is the king of elements right now. And maybe I should say queen of elements right now. Let me bring the game back on the screen and tell you exactly what I'm talking about. When I was taking my my notes right here, here's my OP notes for this video. Here's what I wrote down for Dark. You ready for this? I said, Dark Fina / Leela plus Joker or literally anything else is disgusting. Yeah, I think that's true. These three, this combination of 3 units, throw that up there. Or throw like these two in a Velis, or these two in a Velis, or these guys, Ruinstern, who have not gotten to like use since his new Master Blade 2 comes out. I think he might also be super good. Kane, like what does Dark not really have? Okay, let me tell you what Dark doesn't really have. A like Joom level tank, a Celis level tank. Yeah, Dwayne's up here with his little initial aggro. Dwayne is like an initial aggro high damage bruiser / tank hybrid thing. If Dark had a true tank, if you could run Dark tank plus Leela Fina, get out of here. Get out of here. The element will be way too broken. It's already so hard to deal with as is because these units all buff each other so well. They're super hard to kill. Their damage, their AoE is like huge. You can feel like your team is spread out and you're moving in to take down like a Joker Leela, and they just find this angle to hit all 3 of your units with like back-to-back AoEs, and you're like, well, my team's dead. So that's cool. I was gonna go like kill Joker, but at least I burned Leela's courage. You know, at least I burned Leela's courage before I got 0 stars in Guild Wars, so respect. Yeah, Dark's really great. And like, Dark, if Earth played like Dark, I think I would like Earth better. I think Earth might be supposed to play like Dark, but instead Dark is just better at doing Earth than Earth, in my opinion. And something else I want to talk about with Light and Dark. They've been kings of the game for so long because they don't yes, even though they both do bonus damage to each other, they do not have an element that actually counters them. You can build them to counter the other element, but there's not an elemental advantage like what you have when you're fighting a lightning team with Earth. Right? Like if you're building Earth and lightning is kind of all over the meta, you have that boost where you're like, at least I can go get my damage reduction and damage bonus just because we're these elements. Light and Dark don't have to worry about that. So they're so solid for that reason. In my opinion, you can build them to beat the other one, but you don't have to worry about that permanent disadvantage you would have against your counter element. So I think it says a lot for the state of Wind and Water that they're A tier with Light, even with those disadvantages. And maybe once Lightning boosts up in popularity, we'll see a little bit of a drop-off in that Celis Asterius kind of dominance. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to see just how powerful Orlando EX is and Lightning the unit. I think they'll be really good. And also, by the way, I'm going to drop Rainbow not into D. Rainbow's playable. Yes, Rainbow's playable. I think it is a true Rainbow. A true Rainbow team, I think, is weaker than any single element team in high-end PvP. However, a splash team where you run double one element and splash in a Velis, or splash in a Resnick, or splash in a tank like a Joom or a Celis, that is not a true Rainbow team in my opinion, and those teams can be just as good as a mono element team from whatever element you're running 2 units from. So I do think overall, this is a very good spot for the game in terms of PvP. These elements are a lot closer together than they have been in the past. There's been times in this game where one just kind of ran away with it all. We're not there right now, although Dark is really, really freaking good, but something has to be the best. It's Dark right now, in my opinion. Let me know what you think, and let me know what you think the impact of the 2.5 year anniversary is going to be, especially for Lightning and Ice, which I think both end up significantly up this list after that update. All right, thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.